Welcome to the Property Nomads Podcast, episode 347, 6 top travel tips so you don't waste your holidays. As mentioned a week ago or a couple of weeks ago, we are off to Turin in March, so we are getting prepared to go back out on the road and go and visit a new city. Never been to Turin before. Of course, there's an element of football there as well. We're going to see Torino versus Bologna, which is going to be on Monday the 7th of March. Something along those lines. But in order to get out and about and to maximise our time there, we have decided to produce this podcast because it helps us to prepare for our little trip as well. So no particular order, 6 top travel tips. Number 1, know where you are going. So number 1 works in tandem with number 6, which is never look lost. So this isn't necessarily a case of you need to know everything down to the T, but you need to have a rough plan. So, for example, if you are doing longer term traveling, have you researched the country where you are going? Do you have any idea what places you would like to go to? If we roll back to 2014 when Aaron and I went to South and Central America, we knew that we would be flying into Rio de Janeiro because we would be in Rio for the whole of the 2014 World Cup. From there, we knew roughly that we wanted to head then south in Brazil, end up in Buenos Aires, eventually then head over, traverse the Andes or cross the Andes, head over to Santiago in Chile, and then fly to Easter Island and then back, and then from there head up the west coast of South America, ideally end up in Ecuador, end up in the Galapagos, fly to Panama from Ecuador, and then work our way up into Mexico to then meet up with a couple of other lads for a lad's holiday in Cancun. And we knew that that would be about 10 months worth of travel. We set intermediate dates. So we knew when we were going to Rio, we knew when we would be leaving Rio, and then we had already booked flights for Easter Island, for example, and we'd already booked Christmas in Panama. So we had a couple of key milestones there and we had a rough plan. Not saying we necessarily stuck to that plan in terms of what we'd done in each country and where we went in each country, but we always had this idea of, do we know where we're going? Have we got a rough idea? Have we done some research? So that's point number 1. Know roughly where you're going. Number 2, know the basics of the language. Now, even if you are not great with languages, it is always useful to know a few words and to be able to have a very basic conversation, or to at least be able to offer instructions or requests in said language. Now, of course, if you're an English speaker and then you're off to the United States of America, for example, obviously you don't need to go and learn the language, maybe some of the slang if you really wanted to. But if you're going to Spain, you're going to Italy, you're going to Latin America, France, wherever it might be, try and pick up a few words of the language. And the reason that we say that, 2 reasons. Number 1, the English is known for being quite bad at languages anyway. But secondly, it really does help because you then get this respect from the locals, depending on what country you're in. So, for example, when we've been in Italy before, we've tried ordering things in Italian, asked for a table. If we're going to a restaurant, can we have a table for 3, a table for 4, whatever it might be. And even though they know we're not Italian, the fact that we're making the effort to converse with them in their language, you get that appreciation, you get that underlining effect. We talk about people being arrogant abroad, and to be honest, the French are the worst at that. But if you go, and try and learn the local language, whatever, or the national language, whatever it might be, that will really help you moving forwards. Yeah, you might not be perfect at it, but you get that respect from the other people, and it normally means you're treated better, to be fair, because if they can see you making the effort, they like that. It's no different from someone stopping us on the street here in England and using their broken English to ask for things. We've got an uncanny ability to read between the lines anyway and know exactly what someone means. but you get a bit more respect there, and the feeling's mutual. So that's number 2, know the basics of the language. Number 3, this goes hand in hand with number 1, but it's more prudent for a city trip. Do some basic research. Where do you want to go? So, for example, we're off to Turin. So what is there to see and do in Turin? Well, we're going for the football. We know that football now is on a Monday night, and we're flying in on the Friday, flying out on the Tuesday. So we know the football's on the Monday night, absolutely fantastic. We've got all weekend to do whatever we want. We know that most museums won't be open on Monday, which is quite normal. And we know that the old House of Savoy and the ill-fated site of Il Gran Torino, 1949 airplane disaster, similar to the Munich air disaster, as in it wiped out most of a football team, and a very good football team at that. And that's on the Superga, which is a mountain area overlooking the city of Turin. So, for example, I want to go and see that and take some of the day to trek up to the top of the hill there. Walk up and down the River Po. There's a multitude of automobile museums. We could go and look at the Juventus Stadium, maybe do a stadium tour. All of these sorts of things. And it's important to have an understanding, because there's nothing worse than turning up and just wasting your time. So, and again, this is why this thing is applicable for a city trip. If you're going to Alicante for the week and you're going to sit on the beach for the week, you probably don't need to do basic research on that, because you're going to be sitting on the beach. But if you're taking a city tour, then again, rather than just turn up, waste your time, etc., it's probably prudent to have a basic understanding of what's available, what's open, what there is to see and do, and what there is to eat and drink. There's nothing better than getting into the specialities of an area. Number 4, know why you're going. So I've just touched on it actually in the last one. Know why you are going. Are you going to explore? Are you going to relax? Are you going for a mixture? If you know why you're going, it helps you to plan your trip better. So again, if you're off to Hurghada for a week and your aim is to be in an all-inclusive hotel, sit on the beach and get some sun, fine. You probably don't need to plan that if you're not planning any day trips or anything. If you're doing what we're doing and going to Turin, we've got a list of 5 or 6 things that we would like to do. We've also got a list of a few of the local dishes that we would love to try. And, we'll turn up at the airport. Everyone knows where they need to meet. We'll, say hello, have a beer at the airport, and then we'll fly out to Turin. And voila, we'll have a good fun weekend and we'll have a laugh. Maybe you're going for a mixture. I know Aaron at the back end of last year went to, I was going to say Merida, but that's not the right place, Madeira. Went to Madeira and had a great time. My brother recently went to Madeira as well. Both said the same thing. It was just nice to have a bottle of wine on the seafront, some good seafood, nice and relaxed. A couple of treks and hikes because of the terrain over there. And again, they planned appropriately. They knew why they were going and they maximised their time. When we say maximising your time, again, no one's asking you to be rushing around 24 hours a day, obviously, but if that's what you want to do, feel free. Number 5, pack appropriately. So always look at the weather, always know what's going on, always look at the climate. So we know, again, going back to Torino, we know that the weather's going to be probably a bit chilly. So to wear good smart clothes, obviously, Italians do pride themselves on that fashion sense and style, etc. So we'll put our good clobber on, we'll go across, take some warm clothing as well, because we know it's going to be a little bit choppy over there. Same if you're going to, anywhere like Mexico or whatever, check the weather, pack appropriately as a result. There is nothing worse than doing what I'd done when we went to Vienna, not realising it was going to be that cold and not wearing the appropriate footwear, and was walking around with wet feet for about 4 days. Not ideal. So number 5, pack appropriately. And number 6, never look lost. So there is an art to doing this, and the reason we say never look lost is because you never want to make yourself a target. And it's very easy to wander into areas where you shouldn't, although you should research that before you go. It's very easy to make these mistakes. So never look lost. So try never to get a map out in the middle of public and, start with one of the old school paper maps, start looking confused. That's not good. People might be friendly and they might try and help you, but you never know. You're creating a target for your back unnecessarily. If you've got your phone, it's a lot easier. If you're a bit lost and you're looking at a map on your phone, you could be a bit more discreet about it, which is useful. But ultimately, never look lost. Try and remember a landmark. So if you're having a walk around, you're having a walk around the city, you might not necessarily be in the city centre, you might have gone for a walk along by the river or whatever. If your navigation skills aren't that great, then by all means, try and look for a landmark. That's what I would normally do. So I normally take note of what's in the middle, what's in the centre. So for example, in Turin, I know there is a massive basilica. One of the tall, I think it's the tallest building in northern Italy, if I'm not mistaken. Massive basilica in the middle of town. So I know if we're out and about, that is pretty much the centre of Turin. I've done that in many other places, especially in South America. Take advantage of the terrain, know where like a church is, or a particular spire or something along those lines. But never look lost. There's nothing wrong with getting lost. Absolutely, that is absolutely fine. But try never to look lost. So even if you are lost, look like you know where you're going. And again, the reason for that is if you are lost and you're not sure where you are, and you might be in the wrong neighbourhood, for example, you're just going to create a target for your back. So always try and walk with a purpose, especially if you're blending in with the locals, i.e. it's cold terrain and everyone looks like they're wearing the same. If you're stood there in the middle of Latin America, everyone's wearing their jeans and they're smartly dressed, and you're there with your shorts and flip-flops, people are going to assume you're a tourist anyway, so you've already got a bit of a target on your back. So number 6, never look lost. There is nothing wrong with being lost, but try never to look lost, because you're just creating a rod for your own back. So they are 6 top travel tips so you don't waste time on your holidays. Number 1, for longer distance traveling, know where you're going, come up with a rough plan. Number 2, try and know the basics of the language. You get more respect that way if you're making the effort. Number 3, do some basic research. Where do you want to go? So if this is a city holiday, have you got some museums you want to go to? Do you just want to go and eat and drink and sit in the plaza and have a bottle of wine? Whatever it is, have an idea of what it is you want. Number 4, know why you are going. Is it a beach holiday? Are you there to explore everywhere? Are you there to have a blend of a holiday? Number 5, pack appropriately, check the weather. Don't under or overpack. It's not necessary nowadays, but do make sure you've got appropriate clothing for said weather. And number 6, never look lost. There's nothing wrong with being lost, but try never to look lost because you create a rod for your own back. So 6 top travel tips. Let us know how you get on with them when you next go away. We're looking forward to going to Turin in a few weeks. We'll do a couple of episodes based around that, and we look forward to getting out and about even more so moving forward. Until next time, auf Wiedersehen.